Talks with Maharshi Raman, Part 2. Someone inquired, why is it said in scriptures that the sage is like a child? Maharshi replied, a child and a sage are similar in a way. Incidents entrust a child only so long as they last. It ceases to think of them after they have passed away. So then, it is apparent that they do not leave any impression on the child, and it is not affected by them mentally. So it is with a sage. A visitor asked how to realize oneself in accordance with Maharshi's instructions contained in his text of Truth Revealed, verse 9 supplement. The difficulty was in the controlling of the mind. Maharshi answered, it is to be done by controlling the breath. If you practice it by yourself without other help, then the mind is control. Otherwise, the mind comes under control spontaneously in the presence of a superior power. Such is the greatness of association with the wise. Can destiny ever come to an end? Maharshi replied, the karmas carry the seeds of their own destructions in themselves. A man asked the Maharshi to say something to him. When asked what he wanted to know, he said that he knew nothing and wanted to hear something from the Maharshi. Maharshi replied, you know that. You know nothing. Find out that knowledge. That is liberation, mukti. Mrs. M.A. Piggott, an English lady who had read Search in the Secret India, came to see Maharshi. The services of a disciple as interpreter were provided. There were many visitors at the time in the hall, including some ladies with their infants. The place resounded with noise. At length silence prevailed. Suddenly, Maharshi, who seemed to be looking at infinite space, was heard to say softly, monkey. A little baby was then discovered in the doorway, unobserved by the mother who was seated on the other side of the door, with a large monkey standing on his hind legs, who, with both hands, was fondling the child, not hurting it in the slightest, both being at peace with each other in Maharshi's presence. When Maharshi's voice was heard, the monkey jumped away adoringly and disappeared. The incident greatly impressed the lady. Is a master necessary for realization? Mrs. Piggott asked first. Maharshi, the realization is the result of the master's grace more than the teachings, lectures, meditation, etc. They are only secondary aids, whereas the former is the primary and the essential cause. A devotee asked, what are the obstacles which hinder realization of the self? Maharshi, they are habits of mind. So how to overcome the mental habits? Maharshi, by realizing the self. Devotee, that is a vicious circle. Maharshi, it is the ego which raises such difficulties, creating obstacles, and then suffers from the perplexity of apparent paradoxes. Find out who makes the inquiries, and self will be found. Devotee. What are the aids for realization? Maharshi. The teachings of the scriptures and of realized souls. Devotee asked, can such teachings be discussions, lectures, and meditation? Maharshi. Yes, all these are only secondary aids, whereas the essential is the Master's grace. Devotee. How long will it take for one to get that? Maharshi. Why do you desire to know? Devotee. To give me hope? Maharshi. Even such a desire is an obstacle. The self is ever there. There is nothing without it. Be the self, and the desires and doubts will disappear. Such self is the witness in sleep, dream, and waking states of existence. These states belongs to the ego. The self transcends even the ego. Did you not exist in sleep? Did you know then that you were asleep or unaware of the world? It is only in the waking state that you describe the experience of sleep as being unawareness. Therefore, the consciousness when asleep is the same as that when awake. If you know what this waking conscious is, you will know the conscious which witnesses all the three states. Such consciousness could be found by seeking the consciousness as it was in sleep. Devotee. In that case, I fall asleep. Maharshi replied, there is no harm. Devotee. It is a blank? Maharshi. For whom is the blank? Find out this. You cannot deny yourself at any time. The self is ever there and continues in all states. Devotee. Should I remain as if in sleep and be watchful at the same time? Maharshi. Yes. Watchfulness is the waking state. Therefore, the state will not be one of sleep, but sleepless sleep. If you go the way of your thoughts, you will be carried away by them, and you will find yourself in an endless maze. Devotee. So then I must go back tracing the source of thoughts? Maharshi. Quite so. In that way the thoughts will disappear and the self alone will remain. In fact, there is no inside or outside for the self. They are also projections of the ego. The self is pure and absolute.